Welcome back to another episode of Consciously Clueless. I'm your host, Carly, and I'll be your guide on this journey from consciousness to cluelessness and back around again. Thanks for joining me for another Sunday solo episode. Whether it's Sunday night and you're gearing up for your week, Monday morning and you're on your way to work, or whatever day this podcast has found you, I'm really glad you're here. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Is there something interfering with your happiness or is preventing you from achieving your goals? By now, you all know that therapy is an important part of my own self-care. It has truly been a game changer in every aspect of my life, including achieving goals. BetterHelp is the largest online therapy platform worldwide. They are changing the way people get help with facing life's challenges by providing convenient, discreet, and affordable access to a licensed therapist. BetterHelp makes professional therapy available anytime, anywhere, through a computer, tablet, or smartphone. You can start communicating within 48 hours. It's not a crisis line, it's not self-help. It is professional therapy done securely online. And I have a special offer for Consciously Clueless listeners. Visit BetterHelp.com/Carly and join the over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. By using this code, you get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/CARLY. Take care of yourself today. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. If you didn't know already, my absolute, hands down, favorite holiday is Halloween. And it is October. This season is finally upon us. And I'm not talking just fall pumpkin spice lattes. I'm talking Halloween, dressing up, scary, fun, imaginative. It's just my favorite. It's the absolute literal best. So the rest of the episodes in October are going to have a loosely threaded Halloween, scary, spooky theme. We'll see how that goes, because why? Well, why not? It's my podcast, and that's what I want to talk about. So you might not have known my favorite holiday was Halloween, but if you've been here a few episodes or hang out with me on Instagram or whatever it is, you definitely know that I love a good metaphor. I love making analogies to the things we deal with in life, to larger issues or whatever. It just makes sense to me. It soothes my mind. So today, we're going to talk about a secret lesson you can learn from Halloween, because even Halloween can be turned into a lesson or a metaphor for life. Stick with me here. So, the secret lesson I want you to think about learning from this spooky holiday is that not everything is as scary as it seems. Think about that for a second. I mean, really think about it. Not everything is as scary as it seems. So in the context of Halloween, we of course can come up with lots of examples for this. You go to a haunted house, but then if you drove by it during the day, it's just probably an old house or maybe some fairgrounds that have fake spider webs up. If you see a monster costume at night, you might be a little afraid. If you see it during the day, it just kind of looks like a funny extra from a movie. There are so many examples of ways Halloween reminds us that things are just not as scary as it seems. They're really only as scary as we let them be. Whether we were afraid of the dark growing up, or maybe afraid of the boogie monster under your bed, or whatever thing that we gave enough meaning to be afraid of. Those habits and those patterns of giving meaning to things that actually don't have a basis in reality stick with us. And we have to keep learning that things aren't as scary as they seem, or we won't move forward. Okay, I know we're getting into the corny metaphor part, but I'm serious. Some of the things that seemed so scary to me, of course you have to get to the other side, or at least through some of the hard, mucky parts in the middle, but you always realize that they aren't as bad as they were in your head. Going through hard things, making tough decisions, taking chances. When I get in my head about any of those things, I can spin out, become anxious, or shut down, thinking it's just not going to work, I'm not going to make it work, or maybe I just shouldn't try. That imposter syndrome, that fear of not making it work, the fear of failing, whatever triggers you have, those things inevitably start to come up, especially when you're going to try and do something new and quote unquote scary. But if we can think of those things like the haunted house in the daytime or the zombie who really just looks like a extra from Thriller, then they're not as scary. Then they become a little more attainable. We can attack them knowing on the other side we're going to think, well, that really wasn't so bad. And of course, some things are bad. But oftentimes the things we're really afraid about before they've even happened, we're just creating a story. We're creating a story that isn't doing us any good. So if we're gonna create a story anyway, why not make it better? Why not make it as good as it could possibly be? Why not make it not scary at all? Because it probably isn't as scary as it seems. So maybe you're trying something new. Maybe you want to quit your job and you want to jump into a new endeavor, and that is really freaking scary sometimes. It can be. But I bet if you took a moment to use your rational mind, your rational brain, your calm, grounded thought process, you would figure out that some of those things you're scared about are probably really unlikely to even happen. They're probably really, really, really irrelevant. They're probably not that scary. And because our lives are made up of these mini moments that we give meaning to, whether that's positive or negative, you can choose that different story. And you can probably start to remember when things ended up not being as scary as they seemed. You probably already have examples of your own to soothe yourself. Maybe you're watching a scary movie and you start to point out the fact that they're on set, the fake blood, the whatever it is. Although that's not the best example for me, because even when I can think all those things, I don't love scary movies, but you know what I mean. You have examples to call upon where things maybe worked out or things weren't as bad. In a real life context and not a scary Halloween movie, you can probably think of a time you were really stressed out and you were really amped up, and then it just wasn't that bad. So when you're starting to feel that way again, think back to the moments where it ended up not being so bad. Because if you can call upon those, you can remind yourself, like, I've been here before. I've been scared. I've been amped up. I've been nervous. I've been anxious. And I got through it. So not only do I know how to survive this moment, but last time it was okay. Why couldn't it be okay this time? And why not? There's no reason. There's no reason it can't. There's no reason it could not be a little less scary. You're in control of how scared you are of something. You're in control of that. There are a lot of factors that led you to your fears, and they are all valid. But once you start to move through them and identify them, whether it's a haunted house or speaking your mind in a crowd or whatever it is, it's your choice on how you handle them. There are many things to be nervous about and even scared of in our world. The levels of systematic injustice that we are up against are deeply, deeply rooted in our society and in many of our veins in our blood because it is just what we know. Those things are scary. Those things you can be afraid of, but you can also learn to use that fear. So you can not never be scared. Of course you're going to be scared. But don't make the things that you have control of be the things that scare you. Be afraid of the big things and use that fear to move you forward. But don't be afraid of the little things that you have control of or the big things that you have control of, because I'd be willing to bet they're just not as scary as they seem. Thanks for listening to another episode of Consciously Clueless. If you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe wherever you're listening. If you want to help me get this into the ears of more listeners, send it to a friend, text it to a family member, share on social media. Whatever you can do really helps me out. If you haven't yet, head over to patreon.com/consciouslycarly and become a part of the community. There are yoga videos, vegan recipes, healthy living tips, behind-the-scenes podcast content, and so much more. And finally, let's work together. If you want to transform your life, I'm here for you. Until next time.